Welcome again to Inquiring Minds. Yes, we're still at the Benton Athletic Memorial Museum. Got it right that time.
Yeah, very good.
And we're here with Mr. Donnie Burks again, and he's going to show us some of the exhibits he has been talking about in our earlier programs. So, first of all, right off the bat, I want to introduce Mr. Burks, Donnie Burks. Thank you again for joining us. It's a pleasure to visit with you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to let Mr. Burks show us around the museum some of the exhibits and the brick from the north wall of the school he talked about on the earlier program and everything. But Mr. Burks, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, here we are in the foyer area, second part of the foyer area, rather, located in front of the Benton Athletic Memorial Museum. As you can see, we have a picture of Coach Tom Harden, who was the head coach of the Benton Panthers from 1959 until 1963-64, when he resigned and then became the head coach of the Fayetteville Bulldogs. And so he was the one who was instrumental in putting this together, along with his original committee, and they were able to secure the necessary means and financing to get the building complete, where there was, after the dedication service to the school board, there was no debt on the building whatsoever. As I alluded to earlier, there was no financial school dollars taxes that have gone to the museum for the building, because this was a project of love to preserve the history of the Benton School District. And so, as I said, Coach Harden was able to secure a number of people together to put this entire thing into effect, and this is what we have today. Okay, if you'll see the picture of Coach Harden, the class of 1961 that was very close to Tom Harden was instrumental in securing the picture of Coach Harden, and also this nameplate, and this is in his honor and memory. If you look under the table here, I'm going to remove this and show you. This is the brick from north wall of Benton High School that would not go down when they tried to take it down, and because they said they had broke 4 blades trying to get it into the wall for it to go down, and it wouldn't go. So I asked them to just take a brick out and let's see what was going to happen. They took a brick out, this brick out of the north wall, and when they did that, we cleaned it up, and right after that, they put the jackhammers to it, and the north wall of Benton High School went down. So, as some people have alluded to, it's probably the north wall or Benton High School as a whole, the one that was built in 1954, did not want to be forgotten. And so this brick was taken out of north wall and to preserve the memory of Benton High School. So that is on display here at the museum, and this was the one of the logos that was in the foyer. If you notice, we have the Pink Panther over here to the right, which would be to my left as we're talking. This was the Pink Panther logo that was used from starting in 1974, and it's still being used today for part of the Benton Panther theme, along with the Big Black Panther. So if you come back over here, we're going to go to the front here, to the foyer. When you come into the main foyer of the Benton Athletic Memorial Museum, you'll see the Big Black Panther. And this was donated to the museum a few years ago by one of our board members, and it's become a real novelty here at the museum, because a lot of the students from junior high and middle school, they like to have their picture made now with the Big Black Panther, so they stand over there on the other side, and people will take their picture. I've even had some adults have it. In fact, I had one class reunion that they had a group picture made around this Big Black Panther a couple of years ago. So it's getting to be quite a novelty piece here at the museum. People like it. Some people think if they come to the door, they get startled because they think it's a big dog really sitting on the table. So it kind of startles them a little bit. Of course, we use it as an eye catcher to make sure that people who come into the museum will sign the guest book. and it kind of catches their attention. And that's a great piece for the museum. If you look at the top of the wall up there into the entrance of the museum itself, that is the slogan that Coach Harden came up with, called Honoring the Past, Recognizing the Present, Dedicated to the Future. And that was the theme for the construction of the building and the continuation of the program that exemplifies the history of the Benton School District as a whole. Okay, this, if you'll look on the wall here, on this right side, and we'll turn to the left just a minute, but this is what the museum really is all about. It's about the board of directors of the museum presenting scholarships to graduating seniors from Benton High School. We raise this money during the course of the Wall of Fame banquet that we have every year, and we're now up to giving 4 scholarships a year at $1,000 apiece. We have the David Weaver Memorial Scholarship, which is affiliated with the museum, and we've given out funds into that one, and we've had to come up with another plaque design to continue the David Weaver Memorial Scholarship. This is an independent affiliate to the museum, made in memory of David Weaver by his father William Weaver and David's mother Barbara. So we're very fortunate that they hooked up with us and donated these funds, and we give this one out in memory of David. Okay, now we're on the other side of the museum wall, which is the scholarship wall. This is the primary scholarship funds that the museum is totally responsible for in distributing $1,000 to deserving individuals who are graduating from Benton High School. We have a board of education, you could call it, who read the resumes, and with the help of the principal's office and the guidance counselor are able to make a decision as to, based on paper and performance and these type things, we are able to give these $1,000 scholarships. Now, we don't know these students, the board of directors don't, and so we rely real heavily on the administration and the counselors to guide us so that we select the what we feel, to be the best qualified individual to get. So we've given out about 20 scholarships since 1996, and like I said, we've increased it in 2011. We increased it from 2 to 3, and so we're hoping to be able to continue that in the future, and the board has already approached me about trying to raise that in the next couple of years to make it a 4 from the museum, and then with that one make it a 5. Okay, so we're hoping, they've asked me if we could, raise it, and we're trying to make a plan so that we can increase it to 4 from the museum, and then 1 from the David Weaver Scholarship Fund, which would make a total of 5 from the museum. If you notice, this all part in the front section here is all dedicated to the big Black Panther. And of course, I don't have to go into a long explanation as to why that is, but this is the front part is the big Black Panther area for the museum. Okay, here was the original picture that I was discussing with you earlier about the opening of C.W. Lewis Stadium. This is the parking lot now that First Baptist Church uses. This was the old Benton School. This one caught on fire too, but it was the only school that was completely destroyed. By fire. No image of a Black Panther anyway to preserve any part of the building. It just went. This is the original picture of C.W. Lewis Stadium when it opened up in 1934. You see the lights at the top. And this was the first year that Benton played under the lights. The new stadium in 1934 cost only $10,000 to build. And at the very top, if you look very close, you'll see a wire type thing that's running over here, and it runs all the way around the stadium. Okay, and that's where they would raise the canvas up all the way around the stadium so that nobody could see in. You could hear, but you couldn't see.
But you couldn't see.
You couldn't see. And The first game took place on September the 21st, 1934, under the lights when the Panthers played host to the Badgers of Arkadelphia. The Panthers win their opening game by the score of 19-0, and it wouldn't be until October the 2nd, 1936, when the Panthers would lose their first game at this new stadium. And if I had known it was going to work out like it did, I'd have added more to it, but this was done before, you know,
Yes.
saying that the first loss was to El Dorado in this stadium, and the last loss was to El Dorado, which is really ironic. The head coach for the Panthers in 1934 was Henry Finkbeiner, and his assistant that year was Carol Durham.
And Benton lost by 14 points on each one of those games, first
Yes.
game and last game.
Right, right. So it was about 14 points.
I like numbers.
Yeah. So here, this is Mr. C.W. Lewis right here. This is a picture of Mr. Lewis that his granddaughter Peggy donated to the museum, and we got it here on the C.W. Lewis Memorial Stadium. Now this is what the stadium looked like in 1986. It hadn't changed much when you sit and think about it. The press box has changed naturally, and the school bus rack is still over there. The seating, the concession stands. This area was still open.
But the lights have changed.
Oh yeah, the lights have changed. Yeah, the lights have changed.
changed.
The lights have changed.
Yes.
This was donated to the museum by Sue Schultz. Sue, as you know, is the principal of the Benton Middle School,
Yes.
and she donated this to the museum. And this is what the stadium looked like in 1986. This is the wing that I was telling you about that survived the fire. Everything else was gone.
Yes.
This is the only part that was saved. Now this is an interesting piece. This was donated to the museum by Nubbin Ray, who played for the Benton Panthers in the 50s. And this was a story that came out of the Arkansas Democrat. It said the best place to watch high school football in Arkansas, from Alma to Oak Grove. And Benton was voted the third, C.W. Lewis Stadium was voted the third best stadium in the state of Arkansas to watch a football game from.
That's pretty impressive.
See, it was Alma, Cabot, Benton, Fordyce, Wynn, Springdale, Conway, Beebe, Fayetteville, Dardanelle, Osceola, and Oak Grove. That was the top 10, and C.W. Lewis Stadium was voted number 3.
And this was in 2002.
In 2002, yes ma'am. And so C.W. Lewis Stadium is almost a part of Benton's Town Square, which almost makes it seem out of place with the nearby businesses. But in this rare case, it seems to work. A great looking, well-marked field, nice high stands, which are not far removed from the action, a special seating section in the south end zone for the home band, and 2 scoreboards make C.W. Lewis an outstanding place to watch the game. Now this was a story that was done by Lori McElroy with the Arkansas Democrat Gazette.
In 2002.
Yes, ma'am.
That's pretty impressive.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
It's very impressive.
It is.
And as I think as you and I discussed earlier about the people, how they get upset when all they come in and see the Pink Panther, but not see a big Black Panther. Well,
Yes.
This is the Black Panther that showed up from the class of 1954. They came over one Sunday afternoon and said, "Now, Burks, here's your Black Panther. Put it up in the museum." So, as you can see, the Black Panther, he's up at the table, right? And of course, he's situated here on the C.W. Lewis Memorial table in honor of Mr. Lewis and the stadium. This is the urn that everything was captured in. And this is what was released the other night.
This is the urn that held the spirit of
Yes.
C.W. Lewis Stadium.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then the president of the student council, I presented it to him. I had it on this stand right here. And I walked out on the football field, and he came from the other direction. And the board of directors was behind me. And I had prepared remarks to be read from the press box. And then I presented it to him, and we shook hands. And then he went out to the middle of the field, and then the band was out there, the cheerleaders, the pep stabbers, even the football team was out there, and the coaches, and they just all popped the top and released the spirit.
Released the spirit. That's an amazing story. It really is.
And then of course this table right here. Okay, this table here is the display table that we set up when the Benton Panther program turned 100 years old in 2006. The first football team was in 1906, and in 2006, like I said, it turned 100 years old. We have commendations from the Arkansas State Senate, the Arkansas State House of Representatives, the mayor's office. We even had a sign that was made that was up at C.W. Lewis Stadium that said Benton Panther football 100 years old, 1906 through 2006. And this was donated at that time by the Coca-Cola Bottling Company of Arkansas. So they acknowledged the tradition of the history of the Benton Panther program. We even had mugs that we gave out talking about the 100 years of Benton Panther football. The helmet that was used that particular season, every game that particular year has been put on DVD for us. And so we have every game to remember the 100-year celebration. Of course, as I've reiterated from earlier talks about this, that if it wasn't for that original committee and Tom Harden, this wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have any idea of the history of the Benton School District until we got this building. So we'll come to another part of this program in just a minute. Okay, here we are back in the foyer area. I know that if some of you have been over here, the foyer area is not real big, but yet we got a lot of stuff on display that is pretty well spread out that you can see what it is. This table here is located in the foyer area, and it is our Benton High School Special Olympics Trophy Awards that Benton High School has won. And since that is part of the educational program for the Benton School District, when I was able to get a hold of these trophies, then I felt like that they should have a special place here in the museum because of all their hard work and effort. And this is Benton High School's Special Olympic trophies that have been won over the years by the Special Olympics program at Benton High School. Okay, here we are back at the museum. Right now we're at the section covering the Wall of Fame. These are the people that actually make part of the scholarship program work so that we can give it out each year. We've inducted over about 90 people since 1996 into the Benton Athletic Memorial Museum Wall of Fame. We have 3 categories that people could be inducted by: sports and other athletics, performing arts, which includes band, choir, cheerleaders, pep steppers, and then faculty and administration. The first year, 1996, we inducted 12 people, and as I told you earlier, that was a long night that night when because people had to get up and speak, you had to give opportunities and this type of thing. We did the same thing in 97, but less 1. So we did 11 instead of 12. Then we cut it down to 7. Then we cut it down to 5. And then we've done 5 ever since, even on this wall over here. In 2012, we inducted 3 people into the Wall of Fame because we had a special program that night that there was going to be a special recognition of. And so we didn't induct the normal 5 that we normally do because we had the Benton High School's first cross-country track team. All in came that night for the banquet. And we presented each one of them with a certificate and a plaque. And this was Benton High School's first cross-country track team. And they're only 2 of them have passed away. So this was back in the early 40s. I mean late 40s, early 50s. So we were really proud of that, even though we just inducted 3 because there were quite a few of them. We had to have ample time for everybody to have the opportunity to speak. Now last year in 2013, I have not put this up yet because it's not time to. It's still on display here in the foyer. But we inducted the 1977 entire Benton Panther football team, which was called the Maroon Machine and the Campaign of Conquest. There's a picture of the entire team, the pictures of the seniors, the schedule, and then over here it's got the who the coaches were. The coaches at that time were Dwight Fite, who was an assistant, Roger Burton, assistant, Max Graham, who was the head coach, John Haran, who was an assistant, and Lewis Pryor, who was an assistant head coach. And these were the coaches that, I guess you could say, molded these guys into winning the Benton High School's second state championship. And like I told you the other day, that Coach Graham is the only coach that we've ever had that when he came to Benton, he told the superintendent's office, the school board, and the city of Benton, I will bring a state championship to Benton, and he did. So, and this was the plaque that we gave. We did not give everybody one. We gave everybody a certificate, but this was the plaque that was designed. Oh, excuse me. This was the plaque that was designed. It's a plaque with a football player jumping out of a football, carrying a football, and it says Arkansas State Champions, Wall of Fame recipient, February 23rd, 2013, the Maroon Machine, the Campaign of Conquest, 1977, Benton High School's football state champions. And so, okay, here we are back inside the main room of the Benton Athletic Memorial Museum, and right now we're at the Education Excellence table of Benton High School. These was our Quiz Bowl champions over the years at Benton High School, and we have a special place on display for all of their trophies of first place that they have won over the years, not only locally here, but from different school districts from around the state. There's about 40 of them that we have on display here in the museum for the educational excellence of Benton High School that the Quiz Bowl students at the school have won. So we're real proud of this display. As you can see, a lot of them are tall, and then some of them are not so tall. We even have one, the Arkansas Governor's Quiz Bowl Association Championship. Now, I don't know if that actually means the Governor's Office of Arkansas or if it's talking about the Arkansas Governor Board of Directors for the Quiz Bowl. But anyway, this does say Arkansas Governor's Quiz Bowl Association. This banner that you see down here in the front was found in leaning up against the door at the museum one Sunday when I came over here in a brown bag. And it said, Donnie, please put this up on display. No name was ever left or anything else, so we don't know. So we made a prominent place for it to put it on the Quiz Bowl table. So I don't know what year this is or anything like. There wasn't any identification. It just said, Donnie, you'd like to have this for the museum, and so there it is. Okay, right now we're at the table in the museum about the Ralph Bunch School District that consolidated with the Benton School District in the 1960s. The Ralph Bunch School opened up in 1948 and closed in 1968. The school was located at Dixie and Thompson Street here in Benton. And so these are some of the pictures. This is some of the life of the student body that was attending Ralph Bunch High School. If you look, you'll see some of the trophies that are still around that we were able to locate. They were called the Cougars at Ralph Bunch High School. And this is, they had won, let me put these old folks' glasses on here so I can read it. This trophy was the Pine Street Invitational Tournament, junior boys, first place that they had won, the Ralph Bunch Cougars in 1963. Another trophy that we have was won by the Ralph Bunch Cougars in 1963. It was the Arkansas State Activity Association District 6 Champions basketball. And of course, as I said earlier in different interviews, they were called the Cougars. This was a jacket that was worn by the manager, I think that it was, at Ralph Bunch High School. It was a Cougar jacket. It was one of the significant emblems of Ralph Bunch High School, designating all of the sports accomplishments that was done at Ralph Bunch High School before they consolidated with the Benton School District. So we're very fortunate to have these items and that they didn't get lost in the mail, so to speak. You know, we were able to preserve them and have them part of the Benton Athletic Memorial Museum. If you notice that it's in yellow, and the emblem is of purple color, and it says Ralph Bunch. So that's a good piece of insignia work that we're really proud of to have here at the Benton Athletic Memorial Museum. In fact, one of the students that played for Ralph Bunch High School basketball was the first black to play for Benton High School in 1966. His name was Chester Wilson. and Chester was an outstanding basketball player, and they did not know until that he was an outstanding football player until they put the maroon and gray on him. And then they found out, and Chester graduated in 1967. I'm kind of partial to that because that's the year I graduated from Benton High School. And so Chester was part of our graduating class, and Chester went on to be a very successful businessman after that. So we're real proud to have Chester. Chester was inducted into the Wall of Fame the first year that we had the Wall of Fame banquet. So this is our Ralph Bunch School display that we have here at the museum that we're very proud to have, because I tried for some time to try to get some way to preserve that so that it did not get lost in time. So we're real proud to have this on display. Okay, here we are back at the museum. This time we're located at the back wall where we're at the section dedicated to the history of Benton High School in annuals or yearbooks. Benton High School, even though it's earlier institution of 1899, Benton High School did not produce its first annual until 1944. And this is what the annual looked like back then, and it has produced an annual every year since 1944. In the museum, we have a copy of every annual. So we have it all preserved in book, going from 1944 all the way through to 2013. Here are some of the stadium cushions that have been used over the years. This one was used particularly in the 60s. This is the earliest one we have on display. This one was in the 70s and early 80s. What happened to the 90s? I don't know, but we don't have one for them. We have a stadium cushion here from 2008, and then we have one here for 2011. So, you know, we like to collect these stadium cushions and hang them from the annual section simply for the fact that they're part of the history that's in these books. If you look at the top row up here, you'll see different helmets that we have on display that have been worn by different players. This first one we have is a Bulldog helmet that was worn by Benton Junior High Bulldogs and Westside Junior High Bulldogs. This one here is the Cougar helmet. It was worn in 1985 and 1986, the first year that there was the Cougar program. Then they became the Warriors, and this is the Warrior helmet, and of course now they are the Panthers. This was a football helmet worn by Jackie Pelton in 1966. I understand that the ones earlier than this didn't have as much as this has. Some of them were like skull caps, I've been told. So this is really the earliest Benton Panther football helmet that we have, and it was worn by Jackie Pelton. And those of you who know Jackie, though he was pretty rough on a football helmet, and you can tell by that he was. This was a football helmet that was worn by Dennis Burra in 1970. You can see how this is almost like a skull cap. And like I said, it was worn by Dennis Burra. This was a helmet that was worn during the 70s, during the time Benton won the state championship, and this one was worn by Randy Porter. And you see he's got the stripe down the top of it, and then the big B on the side of it there, okay? And then we have this one that was worn in the 80s by Greg Mundy, who played for the Benton Panthers. Greg Mundy donated this to the museum. You can tell it's a lot bigger. It's getting bigger as we progress. And of course, Greg Mundy became an assistant head coach here at Benton High School. And but now he's moved on, so he donated his Benton Panther helmet. So we have that on display. This one here was worn by Ashley James. It was worn in 1997. And when Ashley played for the Benton Panthers, you can see all the skull caps, skulls and bones, and then the panther paws on the top of it. This is what Ashley wore in 1977. So you can tell we have a great array of the Panther helmets. This was the one that was worn during the time of Benton was having the 100-year celebration. This is the one that they used during that time. It was first used in 2006 and was used all the way through the 100-year celebration. This one came in after that, and then this is the one that they use now at Benton High School. It's got a Panther flair to it, which is really nice. This up here at the top is a memorial made to Bobby Nix. Bobby Nix was Benton High School's first All-American, and you can see all the letters recognizing the fact that he was an All-American, 1961. It was called the Wigwam Wise Men of America Football Committee, so it was nationwide, and they made Bobby Nix All-American, which made him Benton High School's first All-American. You can see his letters that he had, the patches. You can see pictures of him in his uniform. That was his jersey. They retired the jersey, and Coach Harden was instrumental in getting that done. And so we're real fortunate that all this on Bobby was kept over the years, and Coach Harden put all that together up there, and with some of the other items you see around it. And that's a great testament to Bobby Nix and his dedication to the Benton Panthers and the Benton High School program. Okay, here we are back at the other end of the Benton Athletic Memorial Museum. We have a section here dedicated to the Eastside Junior High Cougars, and also to the Benton Junior High Bulldogs and the Westside Junior High Bulldogs. But we'll get to that after we finish. We're going to start with the Eastside Junior High, because that's the program or the school building that is still in existence today for the Benton Junior High Panthers. But the Eastside Junior High Cougars came about in 1968 with its first football team. In fact, the junior high that we have here in Benton now on the top of the hill of Border Street, the original home of the Eastside Junior High Cougars. Their school colors were green and white. And if you'll notice at the top up here at the wall, you'll see the Eastside Junior High Cougar flag. This flag flew over the junior high from 1968 until 1986, because they were the home of the Cougars. And they had a large rivalry with the Westside Junior High Bulldogs, but we'll get into that in just a minute. If you look at the school colors for Eastside Junior High, they were green and white. How they came up with the green and white colors, I don't know. But if you'll see the Cougar picture up here, it's a painting that was done that hung at Eastside Junior High from 1968 to 1986. And they just found it in an office a few years ago when they started remodeling the junior high, and they found it in the back of the closet somewhere. And the first thing they thought of was, Burks would love to have this for the museum. You know, so that's why we have this Cougar painting here. When we set up the Cougar program here at the museum, we did not have a Cougar mascot as such, and so there were some people who had got together who were former Eastside Junior High Cougar graduates, worked on a plan to come up with a Eastside Junior High Cougar mascot. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. But this here, these displays show the different uniforms, stadium cushions that the Eastside Junior High Cougars had. We have a picture of the first principal of Eastside Junior High, who a lot of you will remember, Mr. Martin Dills, who was the who was the assistant principal at Benton High School before they built a school. And then that's him and his wife attending a dinner at Eastside Junior High. If you look here, you'll see a picture that says Home of the Cougars. If you could look behind that and see the flagpole, you can see the resemblance of the building that's still up there on top of the hill. Eastside Junior High Cougar license plate. This is a picture of former Eastside Junior High Cougar homecoming queens when they got together and had a reunion. And they took this group picture, and so we were lucky and fortunate to have it placed here in the museum. We can back up over here, you'll see 1968 to 1986. Every year that there was a Cougar, we have a Cougar annual on display here at the museum. If you'll notice here, there's a picture here. I'll try to hold it up where you can see it. It's a picture of Pat Larson sitting on top of a Mercury Cougar automobile with a cougar sitting next to her, a real live cougar. And when they was using this as a mascot and taking it around the country. And when they came through Benton, they had found out from somebody that one of the school's mascot was called the Cougar. And so then they traced it all down to Pat Larson, who was the drill team cheerleader sponsor for the Cougars. They got her to come out there to the car lot at the Ford place, and got her to sit on top of that car with that Cougar. And I asked Pat, I said, were you scared? She said, Burks, he was sedated. He didn't know if he was coming or going. So we were real lucky to get this. In fact, if you look at him, he's kind of strained back like that, like he really doesn't know where he is. But it's a real life Cougar sitting on a Cougar automobile with Pat Larson sitting next to him. As you can see, shoes that was worn by cheerleaders and pep steppers. The Cougar Roar magazine, we've got every copy of that was ever published by the Eastside Junior High Cougar Roar Association. We even have a copy of the original alma mater for Eastside Junior High with the Benton High School choir, singing it for the first time when they opened up the school. You'll see the different uniforms, cheerleader, pep stepper, managers' jackets and things like that was done for the Eastside Junior High Cougar program. So we're going to be back in just a second to show you the rest of the Eastside Cougar wall before we move on to the Bulldog. Okay, here we are back at the Cougar wall, as I call it, and if you look at the very top there, you'll see a white Cougar mascot. We already had a Westside Junior High Bulldog mascot, and the Cougar people did not have one. So as the Panthers did with the Black Panther that we talked about earlier, some of the Cougar students, former Cougar students, they walked in here one day with a white Cougar. And then they took it back because the eyes of the Cougar were red. And there was no way that a Cougar was going to have any red on him whatsoever. So they took it back, and they brought it back a week later, and they had the eyes painted green because they didn't want nothing to do with West Side, nothing to do with the Bulldog, with it was being red and white. So they took it back, and I had the eyes painted green. So I really don't know, to be honest with you, if there is such a thing as a green-eyed Cougar or not. I don't know. But this one is a green-eyed Cougar, okay? If you'll see these four cabinets right here, these all have to do with the Eastside Cougar program, whether it's band, cheerleader, pep stepper, football team, basketball team, track team. All these cabinets right here in a row, there's 5 of them, 4 of them, that represent Eastside Junior High from 1968 to 1986. Okay, here we are back at the Benton Athletic Memorial Museum. This time we were at the Bulldog Wall, and we have two sections of the Bulldog Wall. We have Benton Junior High Bulldog, and then we have Westside Junior High Bulldog. Benton's first junior high was in 1948. It was located over on River Street, and their mascot was called the Benton Junior High Bulldog. The first junior high Bulldog team was formed in 1948. And so Benton Junior High program has had a football program since 1948. It's not as old as the high school, but it's been around. These first two shells here are dedicated to Benton Junior High Bulldogs. This is prior to the time they became West Side to compete against East Side. This is the original Benton Junior High Bulldog mascot that was from 48 to 68. Joanne Henry, who was a member of the class of 1966, her mother had this because she was a school teacher at the time, and Mrs. Henry told Joanne to take that to Burks. He'd love to have it for the museum. So we have the original Benton Junior High Bulldog that was used from 48 to 68. If you look over here, you'll see some of the old pictures from Benton Junior High Bulldogs that were on display in people's homes or in the school, and so they finally made their way to the museum. You'll see the plaque up here. It says Benton Junior High School Bulldogs 48 to 68. We have some of the frames that are even in red to compete against the green, make everybody happy. So It's quite interesting, the rivalry between these two schools that do exist. But if you look up over here, you'll see some of the uniforms, jackets, band uniforms, and things that was worn by Benton Junior High sports people or music people or cheerleader people that attended Benton Junior High or Westside Junior High. This is the original, let me rephrase that. This is a bulldog flag. It does not represent Westside and it does not represent Benton. It represents the bulldog because there is no flag for either schools, but this one did hang out in front of Westside for many years. And when it was given to me, I asked if it said Westside on it, and they said no, and I said good, because it needed to be just a bulldog flag to represent both eras. And so we're very fortunate to have that. Then if you move down here, this is when it turns into Westside Junior High Bulldog to compete against Eastside Junior High Cougar. And this is the Bulldog that was used from 68 to 86. And Mr. Merrick, when he was one of the principals at Westside Junior High, he kept this, and then when we opened up the museum, then he donated it to the museum. So we have both, Benton Junior High Bulldog red and Westside Junior High Bulldog white. So it's well represented. Here's a picture of C.W. Lewis Stadium with the first Westside Junior High Bulldog football team of 1968. So we not only have the first picture of Benton Junior High Bulldog in 48, we have the first picture of Westside Junior High Bulldog in 68. It's amazing how they both ended up with an 8, you know. So these represent that particular era. They even had, to compete with the Cougar, they even had their own license plate that said Westside Junior High Bulldogs. We've never been able to locate a Benton Junior High Bulldog, but we do have this, which counteracts the Eastside Junior High. I've tried over the years that every time I get something from a Cougar fan or a Bulldog fan, Westside Bulldog fan in particular, I try to counteract it with the other schools, whatever. That way nobody can say we're being partial, you know. So when somebody finds out I'm getting some Eastside stuff, then all of a sudden the Westside stuff shows up. And then if I got some Westside stuff that shows up, then the Cougar people want to. So, and that's healthy because it brings it into the museum. This here is a table that has a composite of things. This is a picture of Coach Tom Harden again. These were his playbooks that he used as a head coach at Benton High School. Some of the plaques that he won. There's a picture of Coach Harden at C.W. Lewis Stadium holding the football. And this is Coach dressed up. And so we're very honored that Mrs. Harden gave that picture to the museum so that we could put that picture up. You can see a Bulldog football here, right here on the side. This was, a member of some class donated that to the museum. This section right here is a track individual that played for Benton High School. His name was Kent Russ. He was one of the better track players that Benton High School ever had. In fact, he went on to play for Vanderbilt. So Benton does get out there, you know what I'm saying? Benton does get out there. When you move on down here, these are different jerseys and jackets that was worn by different players. We have a basketball sweater there donated by Don Bowers. We have a football jacket that was worn in 1960, donated by Melvin Wilson. And we have a 1959 jersey worn by Tim Wright. We have Jim Holland, who was a former graduate of Benton High School, who's also a football player for the Benton Panthers. We have Jim Holland's blanket here on display here at the museum. This is a memorial that was dedicated to Julie Buskin. And she was a graduate of Benton High School. And so there was an extra effort to put her into the museum and to do a memorial. So what we got, we received these two pictures from her parents, and then the museum board of directors asked me to get a plaque. So we have a plaque in here as a memorial to Julie Buskin, her life and her legacy here at Benton High School. If I don't fall over this chair, okay. Can you still see me? Okay. We have a display here of an individual who was a very outstanding basketball player for the Benton Panthers. His name was Junior Curtis. He played for the Panthers during the early 80s, and we have this huge portrait with him playing basketball for Benton. He was a guard for the Benton Panthers, and this was a plaque that he received as all-conference and most assist from 1981 to 82 playing basketball for Benton High School. This here we're kind of proud of, maybe not. This is a picture of Craig O'Neill and myself. When we had the dedication we had Panther Appreciation Night, Craig O'Neill came down from Channel 11 and presented us with the game football that night. And I presented him with a t-shirt and a cap from the museum. We have all kinds of displays here of all the former Benton Panther Tale newspapers. Like I said, with the Cougar War magazine, we had the same thing for the Benton Junior High Bulldogs and the West Side Bulldogs. And the museum really is a composite of the entire school district. We do not try to pounce in on one without pouncing in on the other, because every part of it is part of the history of the Benton School District. So I'd like to welcome anybody who has never been into the museum. If you'd be interested in coming in, we're open every Tuesday night from 7 to 8:30. We're open on Sunday afternoon from 11:30 until 3 o'clock. And we're also open on special assignments when somebody is coming through and they'd like to have a special tour. Then I'll make sure that I'm here to let them into the museum so that they can see it. We've had about 44 different classes that have held reunions in here. In fact, I have a family that's driving up from Arkadelphia right now to take part in seeing this thing that they've heard about. So thank you again for coming. We appreciate